Hi, I'm John, and this is Isaac,
Hello.
our video expert, and we would like to welcome you to Healing the Body. This is the welcome video. What is healing the body? I think it's easier to start with what healing the body is not. And it is not an exercise program, it is not a support group, nor is it a ministry. That said, there is a physical practice for every day, and you can certainly coordinate it with a more rigorous physical practice. Our physical practices won't get any more intense than a basic, gentle yoga class. It could be more of a support group if you want it to be, and if you coordinate with a friend, maybe you and a couple of friends want to do Healing the Body together. I'll include some notes about how to do that on the website. And then thirdly, it's not a ministry. It does, however, take as a given that we are spiritual creatures and that any healing endeavor will be richer and more sustainable if it engages our spiritual selves. So in that way, yes, there is an emphasis on spirituality. I happen to be a Christian, so I share some things from my own Christian perspective, but I've also been doing research and sharing in some practices from other faith traditions as well. So it's my aim to make this as friendly of an interfaith space as possible. What is Healing the Body? Healing the Body is, as I said, a 12-week daily healing experience. It's also my thesis project. I am a master's student at Luther Seminary in St. Paul, Minnesota, and this is part of my master's project along with a more academic paper. I have been doing research on the body, and it inspired this site. Another inspiration for the site is Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, which, if you haven't done it before, is also a 12-week recovery and discovery of one's creativity. I highly recommend it. In my research into healing, I was struck by the multiple ways that one could interpret that word, body. A body could mean my own individual body, my physical body, my spiritual body, my emotional, psychological self, my identities, those kinds of things which have to do with my body, my individual body. The word body can also mean one's relationships, like the body of one's relationships, including family relationships, community relationships, and beyond. The word body can also mean the entirety of what I, as a theist, might call creation, the physical, tangible, embodied, manifested world. And for our purposes with Healing the Body, body means all of those things. So as you go through a week of Healing the Body, you're going to engage in all of those different interpretations of that word body. We're going to deal with our individual physical bodies, our emotional, psychological, spiritual bodies. We're also going to deal with the body of our relationships, both family and community. And we're also going to deal with the body of physical creation, of the earth, however you want to define that. So that's what I mean by healing the body. The last thing that I want to do is I want to walk through what a week looks like. A week looks like this. It's on the wall behind me. This is the way I'm working on this project. No surprise, I like to put everything up where I can see it because I'm a visual person. So if you look over on the left hand, my left hand side, you'll see each of the weeks focuses on a particular part of the physical body or a function of the body. This first week focuses on breath. And so on. Up through the 12th week, we're going to come back to breath again. The first day also includes what I call Lay of the Land, which explores that physical, body-focused theme or practice. So breath. The next step after you've watched this video will be to watch the breath video and start in on the physical practice, which you'll do every day this first week is the same breath practice. The second day I call it Bread for the Journey. And what Bread for the Journey does is it does explore a spiritual component, which again relates to that theme, that idea, this week's being breath. The third day of each week I call Travel Companions, and it's a list of links to artistic expressions that might have some connection and inspiration in relationship to that theme. So, for example, Sia's song Breathe Me, which you might know if you were a fan of 6 Feet Under. It was the really powerful song that was used for the ending of that show. The finale of that entire show was the song by Sia called Breathe Me. So there's a link to the video. So artistic expressions, other kinds of research that I think are intriguing, people who are writing about working with that particular theme, for example, looking at other breath practices from other meditation practices, from other spiritual disciplines, those kinds of things you'll find in day number 3, which is Travel Companions. Day number 4, I call it it's going to be called roadblocks or obstacles or potholes. And what this is it's an opportunity for me to share something of my story when the going got tough in relationship to that week's theme. So for this week, since the theme is breath, I talk about a time when I was having great difficulty accessing my full breath capacity and what that was like. And I'll talk a little bit about what I did about it. The intention with that day is not to suggest that my experience will be your experience or that your experience is my experience, nor is my intention to suggest any kind of fix or solution. Really, my intention is to accompany you and say, hey, this can get challenging at times. You're not alone. Here's my story, my experience. That's it. The next day of the week is day number 5, and day number 5 I'm calling Intersections. Intersections takes us out of our private space and out into public spaces. Don't sweat it too much, especially if you're an introvert or if you want to make this into a largely private practice. It absolutely can be. But Intersections challenges us to take something of that week's exploration and take it beyond your home, beyond your room, beyond your office, beyond that smallest sphere, and kind of get out there into the broader world. The next day of the week is called day number 6, and I'm going to call it either pit stop or rest stop. The idea is rooted in the practice of Sabbath or downtime, restoration. It'll be a pretty simple practice, and the focus is on something that's restorative, where you don't have to do a whole lot of thinking, you don't have to have an academic brain on, you don't have to try and try again. You just show up for a restorative practice and experience. And then day number 7 has 2 parts. The first of those 2 parts is called Travel Log. On the site, you'll find a form which you can print off, or you can just longhand it in a journal if you want to keep a journal. If you're a journaler, great idea. Or you can just open up a document and keep your travel log there. You can download it and keep your travel log there. The travel log simply asks, how did the week go? When did you practice? When did you not practice? And when did you show up to it? Any notes about factors that made a difference, like the busyness of your day or the weather, or how much social interaction you had that day, or the day before, or you're sick, or whatever it might be, those kinds of factors. The second part of day number 7 is to reflect back. I'm calling it maybe scenic outlook is what I'm thinking of calling it, or scenic overlook, is to take a look at the week which has passed and ask yourself some reflective questions. When did it go well? When did it not go well? What does that even mean? When did you engage? When did you disengage? And what of all of this do you want to take with you into your next week, and maybe even beyond? What ideas or practices do you want to take into that next week? For example, you might realize that you thought each of your days was going to start at, when you woke up in the morning, if you're a morning person, and went through until you went to sleep that night, if that's what your schedule looks like. You might realize that instead of keeping that kind of schedule, it actually works well for you to begin at sunset and have that be the beginning of your day of practice, and go through the night and continue on with waking up and keep going until sunset the next day. It's the neighbor calling their dog, Hunter, Hunter. So those are the 2 parts of day number 7. A couple last things. One thing that I want to share is a word of encouragement, which is to encourage you to keep trying. I don't know about you, but for me, healing is an ongoing attempt. And that's important. There are days where it goes well, there are days where it doesn't go as well. But my intention is to keep attempting. I used to be a swimmer. I swam for exercise, and I would frequently fall away from that practice. And on my first day back, I would tell myself all I had to do was get in the pool. I didn't have to swim a single lap. I just had to get in the pool, make the commitment, and get in the pool. What I inevitably discovered is that if I got in the pool, I would do some swimming, and then I would find my way back into the practice. I just share that story with you by means of encouragement to keep trying, keep trying. For my part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep each day down to no more than 30 minutes. So each day will have 2 components, except for these first days of this week as I introduce each of the daily practices. What does that look like for the weeks? What do day number 2s look like for the 12 weeks? What do day number 3s look like for the 12 weeks? Those should be increasingly shorter videos, though, now that I've done this introduction. So you'll have the video of the physical practice for every day. And each week that physical practice will change. So this week we have a breath practice. You'll keep watching that breath practice and doing the breath practice every day this week. And then for each of the days of the week, you'll have a second component. These won't all have videos. Some will, but many won't have videos. You'll just read something, or you'll pick a link to follow on the internet, or you'll do your reflection, or you'll be asked to do some sort of restorative practice, whatever that second component of each day might be. You can stack both of them and do them at the same time if you want, or you may find that you want to bookend your day. Do the physical practice in the morning when you wake up, and do the other practice at night in order to kind of settle down and settle in for the evening, or even settle into sleep. I encourage you to explore, especially this first week, different rhythms and patterns in terms of how this might fit your day. The last thing I want to say is thank you. This is absolutely a works in process, and I'm looking forward to hearing from some of you, to hear how it's going. Is it accessible? Is it not accessible? What's working? What's engaging? What's your journey like? So thank you very much. I am very grateful for getting the opportunity to share this Healing the Body journey with you.